Students find new independence in college, but scammers may be waiting with more pitfalls. Parents can prevent this by sharing a few tips, but so can the Better Business Bureau. Joining us is Chris Thetford with the BBB. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, so when we went to school, there were a lot of lessons our parents had to give us. But in today's world, they also have to give the lessons of how to protect yourself from ID theft. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about today.
And so tell me, what is the number one type of ID theft that people need to look out for when they head to college? Because I remember when I was in school, you had all the booths set up with all the credit card companies just urging us to sign up with all the free swag.
Absolutely. You need to remember that that free swag comes at a price, was one of the things that you learn when you go to college. Those are those interest rates that are tied to those credit cards. And you also are giving them a lot of information about yourself, things like your birth date and your social security number. And you need to make sure that you're giving those to people that you can trust. Now, what we would think logically, Kim, is because of these young people that they've been digital natives, that they would be less likely to be scammed. But we know that that's not necessarily the case. The data from the Federal Trade Commission shows that $363 million was lost by people under the age of 30 last year. So it's imperative that you talk to your young people headed off to school about how to protect their ID, how to protect and make sure they keep their social security number private, they keep their date of birth private. Any piece of information that somebody could use to go out and create another credit account, they need to keep private. And it's probably a good idea, Kim, to tell them to have that important mail that might come, things like bank statements, credit card statements, to come actually to their home address so that they're less likely to end up the victim of ID theft while in the dorm at school.
That is a very good tip. But what should parents say? What does that conversation look like, especially seeing how people of all ages are vulnerable to scammers at some point?
So the important thing to talk about is for them to understand that everything on the internet is not safe. And because they live on electronic devices, whether it's their laptops or their phones or tablets, they don't necessarily know that. So they need to understand that there are people who are willing to take advantage of them. They need to understand how to protect their credit card information. They need to understand that everything comes with a price, and they need to make sure that they understand what happens when they're made offers for things that are said that they're going to be free, that they're likely not free. You need to have the basic consumer education conversations, Kim, that we used to accumulate over our young adulthood, but they get slammed with it now. And finally, you need to make sure that they check those credit card and debit card statements carefully, and make sure that when they're ordering things online that they look for secure websites that have that HTTPS in the address so that they know they're dealing with a secured site. Last thing is they can check their credit reports annually for free at annualcreditreport.com. They should do that to make sure nobody set up any accounts in their name.
All right, we will have these tips on fox2now.com. Chris Thetford, good to talk to you. Thank you so much for the information.
Thank you, Kim.